Good morning, good morning, good morning. And welcome to the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. I am Laura McClady, one of the facilitators for the forum, along with Winston Robinson, which I think he's recuperating from his past weekend, Mary Johnson, Jackie, Edwards Walton, Helena Ivory, Candy, and Nathalie McGarrett, Shay Abdul, Steve Johnston, Dr. Thomas Moore, and Sarita Shearer, who's not with us at this time. We'd like to start off with the word of prayer. Jackie, do you mind giving us a word of prayer?
Father, thank you so much for your so many benefits. We thank you for this day that you've given to us. We ask that as we go through this morning at the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum, God, that you bless every one of us physically here, those who are on Facebook, those who will be on YouTube, those who will be, just on the website. Again, thank you for your so many blessings. In the name of the soon coming King. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jackie. We'd like to start by first of all welcoming our guests this morning and the staff. And we'd like to also ask you all to take a minute and silence your phones. We call it the quiet time to quiet your phones. And Natalie is our timekeeper. And what we like to do is stay within the bounds of the times that we allow you to speak. And since it's the two of you all this morning, we'll give you as much time as you need to speak. And to let you know that people come in respectfully and they leave respectfully. And those that are here, do we have anyone here for the very first time? Thanks for coming. You can give us your name and your affiliation.
Hi everyone, my name is Kayla Walker. I'm a student at UNC Charlotte and I'm an intern for the health department this year.
Welcome to the Tuesday Forum, and we hope to see you back with us again. This morning we have with us the Alliance, Mr. Apologies, leader.
It's on the board.
Jared Keaton, Executive Director for the Alliance Center, previously at Bethlehem Center. I have to take stuff on my phone as well. But anyway, just as information for you that maybe we don't have the live streaming this morning. Is that correct, Steve?
Well, at the moment we do.
Okay, we are on live streaming.
Live streams don't depend on moments usually.
Okay, so we're back online. And Facebook Live as well? Is that right, Steve?
At the moment.
Okay, at the moment. So, to our guest, Mr. Keaton, I wanted to let you know that, as I said earlier, people come respectfully and they leave respectfully. But we keep the program going no matter what. And the process is that we allow you to present. And Ms. Phillips, I know her, and she's an excellent speaker. And I know that she is an excellent, probably, worker for the Alliance Center. But I asked both of you all to just share, as needed, about the center and where we are right now. We were hoping that we could have the education at the school level and the college level and from the center. But we have you first, so that's good. That's the way we live. We start at the youngest. But anyway, that being said, you have as much time as you need to present. And as we start the question and answering session, we facilitate that. We recognize those that raise their hands first, and we will allow them to ask their questions. We ask them to ask their question in 30 seconds, and you can give the answer with what response at the time. But watch our timekeeper, Nathalie McGareth on time, because sometimes if we don't have a lot of questions, we would allow you to do as much talking as you need to do, and we would allow people to ask as many questions as they need to ask. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Keaton, and you can get started. And we ask you, if you use the microphone, please use it and hold it up so because of the live streaming and the Facebook Live.
Good.
Green light.
To your right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't know if I need all of
On
that.
the live stream, people can hear you just fine.
Great. So as long as they can hear me online. Well, I appreciate you all inviting me to share with you this morning. As is shared, we are here from the Alliance Center for Education, and also as shared, which I can see on my screen, but you guys can't see, is a picture of a billboard that was on both ends of Interstate I-77 back in March of 2020. As you all know, no one can see that because we were all at home sheltering in place. That announced that Alliance Center for Education had changed its name from the Bethlehem Center. But really, that is all that we changed. We were fortunate enough to share with this group a couple of years ago, just about a year and a half after we had made what they call a branding change, that we are now named the Alliance Center for Education. And that's really for one reason only. Our board of directors recognize, as well as staff leadership, that the dynamics, as you all know, of Charlotte are changing from the standpoint of we've got a number of residents that live here that are looking for services like the ones that I'll share with you. Some of you, like Dr. Moore, know very well in terms of the history and the legacy of the organization, and some may not be as familiar. But there's a lot of folks that don't know what we do, and our name, as we found, although it's a rich history that we want to keep and leverage as we continue to serve the community. Those that don't know about the legacy were struggling to identify that. And so we rebranded simply for that reason. So a little bit about Bethlehem Center, now Alliance Center for Education. Our mission is to serve through providing high quality education to children in need through partnerships with their families. So we don't do anything for the children that we serve, starting in utero. We're serving expectant moms all the way up to students preparing for college attendance, high school graduation and college attendance. All of that is done at every step of the way in partnership with their families. And our vision, this is, won't say new, but revised somewhat when we rebranded in 2020. But we accentuated the fact that those educational services, the enrichment, and the family support that we serve is really aimed at the end of the day to impact the child's trajectory in terms of economic mobility. So at the end of the day, success for Alliance Center for Education, and has always been the legacy of Bethlehem Center, ultimately is so that student, as they grow to become whole, healthy, and wise, so that they can be able to support themselves and be a full citizen in our community. So economic mobility was attached to the end of our vision statement. A few years ago, while we were kind of working through a strategic plan and thinking through as a staff leadership team, how do we want to be about the business of sharing what this new kind of vision for the future of the organization looks like in practice, and how will we talk about that? Y'all, you know, talking is something. I had a team member ask me, younger team members, or I should say newer to the organization, you know, Mr. Keaton, haven't been out of school that long, and I understand what we do. I'm an educator by trade, at least in terms of my academic career, and I love what I do. What does a CEO do? And I said, I talk a lot, but I talk a lot about what you guys do to try to leverage support from the community, because ultimately we want to make sure that we have the resources that we need to serve the students that deserve a bright future. And so one of the things that we were challenging ourselves with, because, and I'm glad we have a timekeeper this morning, because Old will tell you I'll be here all morning if you let me, because this is my favorite subject and I can talk. I'm a son of a pastor and a grandson of a deaconess and a great-grandson of a pastor, a founding pastor, so I can go all day. But what we came up with that will help people connect to what we want to see for the organization is that we simply put want to see a world where family's income does not determine a child's outcome. So without regard to where the family may begin their journey economically, that child has an opportunity to thrive, in part by the services that we provide and those that we provide, that others provide in partnership with us to those families. We'd like to talk also about the way we serve as a continuum. And my apologies for not being able to successfully navigate my 30-minute journey that turned into an hour this morning. But if you were able to see the visual, we talk about it as a continuum of services. Bethlehem Center, and I'll share this in a little bit more detail in a second, has a long history of walking alongside of children from small, young years all the way to beginning to think about their career opportunities. And so we call that the continuum of care at Alliance Center for Education. That starts with early childhood education, and here in Mecklenburg County, we use the Head Start model. And the Head Start model really is a beautiful thing in terms of seeing the child as a whole child and also a member of not only the family but also the community, which lines up well with our legacy. Bethlehem Center was founded here in Charlotte in 1940. So we're working, I actually got a meeting right after this one to plan out or continue to plan out our 85th, a year-long celebration of our 85th anniversary. So I'm going to be talking to Dr. Moore about that a little bit later. But we were founded as a part of the Brooklyn community. I'm sure some of you, everybody, I'm sure if you've been in Charlotte for any amount of time nowadays, know about the Brooklyn community, Brooklyn Village community. We were originally founded there as a resident home of the United Methodist Women at the time. They're now known as the United Women in Faith, and actually lived and served out of the Bethlehem Center home, mostly focused on women and that had small children. Then in the mid-40s, as World War II kicked up and many of those women began to enter the workforce, then the shift began to focus on serving the children and then continuing to support the family. We moved in 1958 to what's now known as South End, and I won't show my grimace about that term, but then known as the South Side. But we moved there in 1958 primarily to serve Southside homes, part of Enlivian, then the Charlotte Housing Authority, as well as the communities of Wilmore and then the housing community of Brook Hill. And we served there still serve those communities today, and we're headquartered there from 1958 all the way to 2020. Today, we are headquartered here. We've been in this building for the better part of 34 years, mostly serving as a hub for our family engagement department. And we converted it to our headquarters about 5 years ago, and still have a presence here with our family engagement team. And Ms. Olga Billups is now the leader of that department, so I'd love for her to share about her vision for our continued services with families. But today, we're serving just over 700 students when we're at full capacity. That's made up of about 500 preschoolers, about 120 pre-K students, and then just over 70 infants and toddlers and expectant moms. And then we've got just shy of 100 when in full capacity, right at 90, thanks to a partnership with the city and the county and United Way students in our after-school program who are kindergarten through 12th grade, mostly kindergarten through 8th grade, in partnership with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools as well. And we're a citywide, so you heard our humble beginnings serving Brooklyn Village community, then Southside, Wilmore, and Brook Hill. Now we're citywide. We are fortunate enough to serve families across 10 locations within our community. 7 of those locations are focused on infant, toddler, and preschool and pre-K services. We also have one of those 7 that has a after-school presence, and that's over on the west side, which I'll talk a little bit more about. West Meck off of Tuckasegee Road. And then we have 2 locations that are partnered with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, where we're inside of their schools in their Bright Beginnings program, where the CMS staff are providing the teaching, and then we provide the family engagement support and all other comprehensive services that those children and families might need. And then we're also in Southview Recreation Center, which is a partnership with United Way, a United Neighborhoods program, where we are serving about 30 students, mostly from the Renaissance West Academy, STEAM Academy. So we're very excited about that partnership. And this semester, we just started, so I guess we're up to 11. I'm going to have to change my terminology. We just started a new partnership inside of Renaissance West Academy to serve middle school students there. So 11 locations as of September of 2020, this month of 2024. We, at the top of 2021, we worked to think about how do we leverage all the great things that we stand on the shoulder of giants. We have a great history of people who have served valiantly in Mecklenburg County in all these different ways that I've described and many more. Bethlehem Center, in many ways, in its founding, and certainly as it existed in Southside, was a community center. And a part of that that we want to refocus on was advocacy work. So we realized that how we leaned into being great at making sure the kids are what we call ready for school, or school ready, and making sure that the parents are supported, empowered, and they are set up for success in their own right. That one of the things that Bethlehem Center did a tremendous job with is also standing in the gap for those families and helping them discover their way as leaders within the community. We have a long history of that, and with our focus on making sure that we're getting those students prepared, and that we're working with the families in that same regard so they can do their part alongside us. We've not done as much work in advocacy, so that's something that we realize that we are needing to reconnect to. Thus is a part of why we're here this morning, and appreciate the invitation. Another thing that the organization has done a great job with in the past is building and maintaining trust. Everything we've done, and people have referred to us as one of the best kept secrets in Charlotte, because you don't find many nonprofits that serve 700 plus students on a daily basis, and you probably have 9 out of 10 people have either not heard of you or don't necessarily know fully what you do. Most organizations, nonprofits our size, have a clear brand. Some of that is because the changing dynamic of the community, and some of that is because we've been an organization, quite frankly, with our head down. And I mean that in a good way. We've largely been a grassroots organization, very well grounded with our community partners, and well leveraged in relationships with the families that we serve. So if you go into several communities that surround the old center and the neighborhoods we used to serve, they can tell you more about the organization than I can, because that's how well the relationships have been established over the years. And we see that as part of our secret sauce. Well, as we become a community-wide organization, we want to make sure, especially as we continue to look to grow where we need it. I'm not interested in my leadership in growth just for growth's sake. I'm looking to make sure that we're going where we're needed, and also making sure that we're mindful of how we can build relationships and leverage the services that are already there, the partners that are already there. But as we do that, we want to make sure that we're continuing to build on that trust. And so we're doing some things now to be very intentional about trust building in the communities that we serve. So I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. And then finally, one of the things that we lifted up, and a lot of this I didn't share. I think I shared this the last time I was with you all, but I didn't share it this morning, is that process started not with us talking to each other on the inside of the organization. We talked to the families in the neighborhoods that we serve, number one. We talked to the folks, many of the folks that had come through Bethlehem Center over the years and gained their reflections on the history and what made the organization so great, and then their perspective, both those families and those alumni, on what we can do to advance and make our organization even stronger on behalf of the community. And so the last thing that we came up with, and again, these are just fancy terms to describe basic concepts that I'm sure that will resonate with you all, is we heard a lot about wraparound. We were hearing about, hey, you guys do a great job providing that early education and supporting students, young students, elementary age, middle school age students while they're in school. You partner with the schools, you partner with the families. That's great. But what about things that prevent a child from being able to leverage that education? What if you're trying to teach me to read, but I have a problem seeing? If you're educating me through instruction, but I have a problem with my hearing? What if you're here to help me grow and develop my character and learn how to work with other kids in groups, but I've got trauma at home and I'm needing to navigate that, and it's showing up in quote unquote my behavior? So what about all those things? Those, you can't look at those as just exterior, particularly now that we're living in a world after COVID, where folks have been, little ones have been in front of the TV at grandma's house, while we were sheltered in place, and many parents were nervous about engaging in childcare and putting their little ones outside of the home. Many of the families were reluctant to reengage, and then there's a lot of stress that came along with being in that environment, not just for the little ones, but for all of us. What does that mean, and how are you guys preparing yourself to be able to serve the little ones and their families in this new world and this new reality that we're living in? People call it the post-COVID society. I would call it the new normal. But there's some parts of it that we don't want to accept as the way things are, if y'all know what I'm saying. We want to be a part of building a pathway forward. So social determinants of education is the terminology that we're using, but all it really means is all of those factors that revolve around a child's ability and a child's ability to learn and a family's ability to thrive. In terms of our focus with students, simply put, for those who may not be familiar with us, we have 6 main areas that we focus on. One is, again, you heard me talk about the whole child, so social emotional development is big, and that's big all throughout the continuum of age groups that we serve. An example with little ones is about, and when I say little, I mean the infants and toddlers, is about helping build trust and relationships with them, being consistent, and helping them begin to interact and thrive, and all the things that goes into that. And that's primarily by seeing their parents as their first teacher. And so we leverage those relationships with the families and making sure that we're bringing them with us in the journey, and that we're not just, hey, drop them off in the morning, and then we'll take care of them. We're making sure that we're learning what their goals and dreams are for their babies, but also that we're helping them understand what we're doing in the day and making a partnership, building a partnership around that baby. All the way to an older student, working with things like character building, group dynamics, navigating all the difficult choices that kids, even a 12-year-old, is making on a daily basis. And y'all know that in 2024, decision making is important skill for a middle school student, because they're faced with choices every day that'll impact based on the decisions that they make possibly for the rest of their lives. So we want to set them up for success in an area. Problem solving, self-awareness, being able to regulate your emotions. So that's a big focus of ours throughout the age groups that we work with in different ways. And so we invest a lot of the community support that we receive in making sure that we have professionals in our programs, not as a pull out or a set aside, but that are built into the work that we do on a daily basis in our classrooms. And then obviously that academic support, getting the little ones ready with those early literacy skills, math skills, and concept development skills to be able to build those building blocks. So then when they enter school, because we know that brain development in those first 5 years is extremely important. And so leveraging that time that we have with them prior to school in those early academic skill buildings is very important. So as they move into school, then we're focused obviously on supporting their academic trajectory, making sure that they're not only that they're matriculating through elementary school on time, but we're also focused on those EOG scores while we're continuing to make sure that they have exposure to choices in life in terms of careers, opportunities, and a way to what it means to really be a part of a community. So we support them in all those ways. And then with the older students, there's a huge shift. And when I say older, I don't mean juniors and seniors in high school, I mean 4th and 5th graders, starting on career exploration. And that's all pathways to a sustainable career. That's not just those careers that need a college education, it's also trades as well. We want our students to think, understand that there's many pathways and we all are different. And so we look at that, help them discover that intersection between what I'm good at and what I love, because when that intersection meets, in addition to where folks are hiring and where needs are, that expansion of that perspective of those students is very key. So we start as early as the 4th grade on focusing on career exploration and then career readiness. And then going back to those social determinants of health, education, physical health is a big part of that. Every student that we serve is given an opportunity, especially with their family, to understand where they are in terms of their growth development, their cognitive development, as well as their gross and fine motor skills, walking, moving, balance, all of that good stuff. And then with the older kids, we're moving into fitness and then discovering how they can support themselves in their health journey with things like nutrition and mental health and wellness and mindfulness. With our older students, and I got the speed it up sign. So with the younger students, in addition to those, we're also, the last thing I'll mention about the little ones is the fine motor skills as well. So being able to do little things like manipulate things with their hands, prepare to use instruments and pencils, is also navigating technology is something that we start to do with those little ones. With the older kids, healthy behavior. We've talked a little bit about that in terms of character building. We also look at not only learning, but aspiration. So making sure the older students can connect what they're learning to why that's important. You know, it's one thing just to learn. I call it Jeopardy knowledge. You know, Jeopardy knowledge is great. That's stuff that you can learn just to go play a trivia game. But why do I need to know this, and how is that going to connect to why I can use that knowledge later in life? And a lot of times we bypass that as adults when we're working with young people. And so that's something that's big for us, is helping them connect the skills that they're learning in school and after school with us to things that they can make use of for the rest of their lives. And then connections. That's a big thing, is we're making sure that the older students are connected to community, that they do things like volunteer, that they do things like look for opportunities to be leaders, not only to serve, but also to serve and understand what servant leadership is, because we've had the fortune in our legacy that the Bethlehem Center has produced some city council people. We've produced some state legislators. We've produced several leaders within in leadership in different ways, college professors. And so we want those students to connect to community, but also opportunities to see themselves as leaders. So I'm gonna fast forward some of this stuff that's a little redundant and get to the pick it up where I left off when I was last with you. So the last time I was with the forum, we shared that we had goals for the 5 years. I think that was in 2022, and we had 3 goals as an organization that are culminating at the end of 2026. That'll be the end of that 5 years. One is to serve more infants and toddlers. Y'all would imagine a city this size, we are one of only 2 publicly funded providers of direct child care for infants and toddlers. So there's only 2, and collectively there's only about 300 slots. Well, our slots of that 300 is only about 70 for infants and toddlers. So we're looking to double. As of today, we are in the final stages And we've got the classroom space. We are hiring the teachers to add 50% more slots for infants and toddlers. So we're excited about that opportunity. That's largely come through partnership with folks like MEC Pre-K and CMS Bright Beginnings and NC Pre-K, where they've given us funding through those partnerships for those dollars to serve the pre-K, the 4 and 5-year-olds. So that allows us to use our Head Start, early Head Start dollars to serve more infants and toddlers. So we're excited about that. That was a goal that we had, and now we're happy to announce that as of this 2025 coming up, we will have increased our number of infants and toddlers services by 50%. The other thing that we're excited to announce about how we're doing with those goals is one of the things that trust building, well, part of that is just being there. And we realized that there were parts of the community that we weren't. We hadn't been serving those communities either ever, or we hadn't been there in a long time. So in the spring, through the support of the board of directors, we closed on the purchase of a facility in the university area. So we are now finishing up renovating that facility, and for the first time in at least 20 years, we will have Head Start and early Head Start in 2025 in the university area. So we're very excited about that opportunity. It's been a long time coming. Through our partnership with our founders, United Women in Faith and the United Methodist Church, we identified a service partner in the Archdale Tyvola Road community. So we are getting ready to start renovating a wing inside of St. Andrew's United Methodist Church right off of Archdale and South Boulevard. And that is a largely Spanish-speaking community. So we've received funding from Sisters of Mercy Foundation to add a Spanish-speaking family engagement staff member, and we also have a bilingual teacher there, as well as a partnership with Charlotte Bilingual Preschool, where we'll have English-speaking Head Start classrooms there, as well as Spanish and English-speaking Head Start classrooms at that facility. So we're also, and that'll open as soon as it's ready to go. So we're actually introducing that facility this fall. And then finally, we are working to purchase a facility that we've been leasing on the plaza. So it's not that far from here. If you take Parkwood until it ends into the plaza and all the way to a Plaza Road extension, we're right there off the extension on Barrington Drive. And so we're looking to purchase that facility literally any day now. Been emailing the feds back and forth to get that money in the bank. And we'll be renovating that facility. So as you all can tell, we're trying to be mindful of our community investments to be where we're needed as the dynamics of Charlotte continue to change, that we're continuing to be thoughtful about that growth and not just be opportunistic about it. The last thing I'll mention is that we are in our workforce development. We're looking to make sure that young people who are graduating high school and college understand how to access a career in early childhood education. So we're building a partnership, starting with our friends at Charlotte Area Fund, and we will be introducing a program that without a college degree, you can start at $20 an hour, and then we will, in partnership with partners like Charlotte Area Fund, provide you the education, and our friends at CPCC and Charlotte Bilingual, if you're a Spanish and bilingual, to get your education while you have a job. So that's something that we're working through right now. So that's kind of how we're doing with the things that we left you guys with last time.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate it. We allowed you to share a lot of good information with us this morning. But I'd like, since we have Ms. Phillips up there, if you...
Breaking in again. We're about to lose the live stream because the increase in using the building. The connection between the building and WebEx is what the issue is. We can't fix it. So what I'm asking today, anyway, is for those who are using devices, not to depend on Charlotte Guest. Use your own hotspot if you can. Otherwise, be wary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you again, Mr. Keaton. And just as we like to hear from Ms. Phillips, it's just in terms of, just give us a little synopsis of what your role is and what you're doing with the center.
My role at Alliance Center for Education, I wear several hats. Officially, I am the new Director of Early Childhood Education. A new Associate Director of Early Childhood Education and Comprehensive Services. So that's new. I don't even know what my role is. But I wear many hats. The one thing I want to say about what Mr. Keaton said is, one thing I want us to remember about our program, I love our program, is that our programming is at no cost to our families. Our children, our younger children, do not have to be potty trained. We provide services for our families, not only if we have a family who needs a food referral, we partner with crisis assistance. If we have a family who needs their lights turned on, they need their rent paid, we work with all of with many community partners to make sure that our families are meeting those needs, because a child cannot come to school. If a child is at home and they don't have food to eat, they don't have lights, they haven't had a good night's rest, then when they get to school, they might have behavioral problems. We provide mental health services for our families. So the great thing about Alliance Center for Education is that we are truly a part of the community. We truly partner with Mecklenburg County Services to make sure that our parents are empowered and have the resources that they need. And so one of my roles is to make sure that we have those partnerships and that we are building relationships with our families and partnering them with the community access.
Okay, thank you.
Ken has the first question.
She the one.
She the one told you to take as much time as you needed. Ironically, Tommy Robinson actually grew up in the neighborhood and lived right behind Belmont. Baltimore. Yeah, but they wouldn't let him participate because he was a bad little kid. A key element for nonprofits is funding and operational sustainability. What are your funding sources, both public and private? And do you have to periodically go back every time and beg for more money, or is this an ongoing deal?
Now, you picked on me for how long-winded I was, and then you gave me a loaded question. The short answer is yes, yes, and yes. Publicly funded largely. So Office of Head Start, which is in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, about close to $10 million of our $11 million comes from that budget. However, intentionally, that is the feds fund that at 80-20 split. So that 9 point some odd million dollars really comes attached with it the need to raise another almost $2 million of local support in order to serve the way that we're intended in their Head Start model, early Head Start model. A smaller portion comes for our after-school program from the city of Charlotte. We also get funding from the county in two ways. One is to have a similar program to Head Start with our after-school program, where we got all the same components in terms of education, enrichment, family engagement, and health services from the county. And then the other part of the county funds is coming from our partnership with Mecklenburg Pre-K. So all our universal pre-K, all of our classrooms are universal pre-K in that age group, with the exception of our partnership with CMS. And then there's a lot of other community support that we see. One primary source is the churches. We have always been and continue to be very grateful for the support that we receive from the faith community. And then we also have several corporations that sponsor us. As you all would imagine, being a grassroots organization, that's not as big, that investment is not as big as it could be, as it should be. So that's kind of where I come in, is focus on increasing the corporate support. And yes, with all of those public sources, we either have an annual or biannual a requirement to go and ask for continued reinvestment. And as y'all know, the cost of everything goes up every time. So we're asking for increases in investment to chase the inflation. Oftentimes we get flat funded. So inflation goes up, cost goes up, funding stays flat. And so we're dealing with that, trying to continue to get other forms of community support to try to continue to serve.
Hey, Jackie.
Good morning. I became involved with Bethlehem Center under Keith Huffman and Doug Board many years ago. And you were real involved in the community in that always on the first Thursday, you hosted an interagency council meeting there, where for $2 you could get lunch with homemade rolls. And that was such a big deal. We filled the whole room with interagency folk during that time. But you know, I have such fond memories of going into that area over there, the New South End. But my question is, do you still have your location at Ivory Baker over there in that area? You didn't mention that, so I didn't know.
Yes, ma'am, we do. So I'll start with your question, answering your question. Yes, we still are in the Ivory Baker Center off of Oakland, sandwiched between Batesford and Statesville. We're there. We've got 4 classrooms ranging from infants, toddlers to pre-K over there, and we're very fortunate to have that partnership with the county. That wing was built for Bethlehem Center back in 2006-07. And yes, we did. I came in the agency. I was actually hired by Doug Boyd back in 1990, almost 25 years ago. And we did have that really strong interagency relationship. We still have partnerships with almost all of those same organizations now. And so we're just trying to figure out what the collective will is to convene, because that's something that we've gotten bad at as a community, is convening after COVID. And so we're trying to help all of us find our way back to those communities. There's a lot of great collaboration going on, but not that in person with all that great spirit that we had in the interagency council. So thank you for mentioning that. Those are fond memories. Early on in my career, had an opportunity to actually present at one of those interagency councils our budget back when I ran our fiscal department. So very fond memories as well.
Yes, I was, my grandmother lived right in front of the Bethlehem Center. I remember when it was built. And when it was built, Bethlehem Center was a community organization. They had women learning to cook, they had people sewing this. Now it's strictly children, nursery. I remember like the center you built on Baltimore Avenue with the auditorium and stuff, it's non-existent anymore. But the Childhood Development Center is existent. When did the Bethlehem Center get into childhood development and not a community organization for all things?
That's a great question. So the easy answer on the child development side is that's really always been, well, since the late 40s, that's been a part of who we were. Bethlehem Center was the first organization to offer kindergarten when kindergarten wasn't a part of the public school system. we offered a free kindergarten, and then we continued that in partnership with the Housing Authority when they built inside of Southside Homes, built the Lucy Guest Child Development Center. So for at least the last 60 years, we've had a pretty strong focus in child development, but we also, as you mentioned, Mr. Robinson, we had also had that community center services where we had all of those different things. The change really took place in the early 2000s when we realized that, and it wasn't just us, that we were duplicating things that other organizations focused on, and then we had to become better because the needs of the kids were shifting in terms of child care, early academics, and after school enrichment. So we didn't drop any of those things. We're still in partnership with everything you just listed. We've got a community partner that does all those things, and so we work with the families to either bring those partners inside of the child care centers and provide those services to the families, or we help make those connections with the families, even if it means helping them with transportation and things of that nature. So it's really just not trying to be all things to all people, being great at what the core of what we've always been, and then as we become citywide, leveraging all these other great organizations in providing those other services.
Okay, would you give us your name, please?
Destiny Jarman with Houston Metro, online Black publication here in Charlotte. So I'm wondering, can you speak a little bit about what trends you've seen with our youth over the past 5 years, and if that has impacted or shaped your goals since you said those goals were from 2020? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Great question. The easy answer is it hasn't, the trends that we've seen, and there have been some that have been very stark in terms of their the changes that we've seen, but they haven't really impacted those three main goals. They kind of confirmed that we were on the right path with making sure that we were continuing to build trust in community as we continue to scale, that we needed to work on workforce development, both for our organization, but in general for all the students that we're serving, and making sure that we're investing investing more in early. But the biggest shift that we've seen, and so this has impacted how we're, the path to all of that tremendously, is in the number of students that are coming to us that did not have any type of formal education prior to coming to us. Usually we had students that were 6 weeks old. Those babies that were at home for that year and a half came to us needing a lot more support emotionally because many of them had been isolated. So they weren't in a classroom or in community with other children. They were at home with an adult, oftentimes an older adult, that was providing the best care that they could given the circumstances. And so we've had to deal with making sure our staff are better prepared for children that are highly intelligent, but emotionally and developmentally delayed, not necessarily by nature, but by environment. And so we've had to do a lot more in that way.
Fond memories, yeah. I remember them too, like Jackie. And one of those memories was the fact that the Baltimore Avenue site had a basement where there was a boxing ring, and it produced 2 world champion boxers, Kelvin Seabrooks and Bernard Taylor. My question is, do you reach out to alumni who began as recipients of your services and are now among those successful alumni who can or would come back and be an advocate promotional for your continuing program?
I didn't pay him, I promise. I didn't pay him. Excellent question. The answer is, the first answer would be no. If I'm a very honest and transparent person. the organization has not done the best job over the last 20 or so years, continuing to stay in relationship with alumni. We are being extremely intentional in that effort moving forward. Right now, our incoming board chair, Mr. Anthony Stratford, was a Bethlehem Center student. And so he's going to lead the organization into our 85th anniversary. And a part of that focus is building a network to understand who those folks are. I knew Seabrooks obviously was a local resident, had no idea that he had come through the doors of Bethlehem Center. And so we don't know what we don't know, but we got to be serious and intentional about finding out. And so that's part of this network that we'll be building. We've got a family reunion planned. We're starting to plan it for next summer. And the whole goal of that is to be a launching pad where we'll spend the next, certainly through the end of this year and into the spring of 25, in connected to as many alumni as we can to rebuild that network, because the organization has not been intentional about that.
That's your PR guy right there.
Yes, like I remember the Bethlehem Center because my grandmother lived right in front of it, and I lived on the next street behind it. But the Bethlehem Center have transitional lives, just interested in child care. Like you have a child care center, the building you had on Baltimore Avenue with the auditorium and the office building. I knew the first director of the Bethlehem Center, Miss Hopkins or somebody, but I knew everybody. Mr. Harshaw. But the Bethlehem Center have gotten away from community, to me, have gotten away from, not gotten away from community, but they don't deal with the community as much as they used to. Like now they're just interested in child care, that's because of federal funding or what. They don't have a, I mean, you know, I used to go to Bethlehem Center for Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, and they had sewing programs for women and cooking. They had a commercial type kitchen cooking for women to learn how to cook and stuff. And now they have abandoned all those programs and just child care. They're just interested in child care. Is that because of federal funding or what?
So that's actually not true. We still have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and all of that. So if you would imagine, instead of we're not a community, one location, we got multiple locations. And where those older students are, like at the Southview Recreation Center. So if you go down to West Boulevard, the intersection of West Boulevard and Billy Graham, inside of the Little Rock apartment area, and also kind of sandwiched between Renaissance West Community, there's a rec center called the Southview Recreation Center. So some of the same youth services that you talked about, we're providing those in that rec center. The truth is, as South Side was gentrified, a lot of those residents, we've got people that live there, but we don't have as many people with small children that live in that community. So part of what we had to do is be mindful of where those families were displaced to. And so as we grew and expanded, we've become planted in those communities. But in terms of those services to children, we still have all of those same wraparound services to children. The difference is the services with families. Like, I'll give you an example, cooking classes. If we have families that want to learn about cooking, well, we still have partners that we work with to bring get those families connected to people that provide those cooking services. So as we get resources, instead of us taking, let's say that costs $100,000 today to run that program. So instead of us using $100,000 to provide a cooking course and maintain a commercial kitchen for training young mothers and our young people, because young guys want to learn how to cook as well. You can get a career being a chef. Instead of us spending that $100,000 in providing that education, we connect with people like CPCC and others that provide that same education that already receive funding, and then we use that community investment to make sure that while I'm in cooking class, that the kids got after school. So we're able to serve more of what we do with the community investment and then leverage what other people are doing. But we're very mindful. That's part of what this young lady does, is know what everybody else is doing and making sure that every family that we serve, when they present, hey, I'm interested in this, that she know who does that, and then her team is out in the community working with those families to make sure that they're leveraging those services. And that's really, that shift is more because we're citywide versus running one community center, but we still offer, either directly or in partnership, all of the same services that we used to. The only thing I can say that's materially different than your experience years ago would be the service to seniors, senior citizens. The only service that we provide to senior services directly is we work with the county with folks that have young children. So if I'm a grandparent parenting a grandchild in kinship care, for an example, then we're here to provide that support, and we provide the child care, but we don't provide any senior services. But all the other family and student services that we used to provide, we still provide them. Either we provide it or we got partners that come in and provide it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, you were speaking a little bit, I'm gonna expand on what you were just talking about. I'm wondering if you can just explain the importance of economic mobility and how that's achieved through leveraging community resources, as you were just talking about partnerships, and also providing those wraparound services.
Absolutely. It's a couple of parts. One, from our perspective, is the fundamental education and the early childhood education. Two is our enrichment services include things like financial literacy. So it's not just about, when we say education, that's a broad term for us. It's not just academic classroom, but we're also filling in those gaps that they're not going to get in school with the older students. Financial literacy is a part of that. And that's not only for the child, but also financial literacy for the family. Second or third is making sure kids understand what the career opportunities that are out there, but not just, hey, here's something cool that this guy does, but also breaking that down and helping them understand on a practical level, how do I go from being a sixth grader to being an electrician, and what that pathway looks like, even including things like apprenticeships. And so that's kind of our approach. It's all in that knowledge building and wisdom building. So we call it education, but it's certainly broader than just academics. So we focus also college tours and explorations is a big part of that. Making sure that once they leave a formal education, wherever that journey ends, that they are able to navigate managing money, budgets, and things of that nature.
We're running very short on time now, so we need to try to keep your questions to 30 seconds and your answers to 1 minute.
Okay, I'm next question. My question is, can you tell us how many employees are working under the center, and a basic idea of what your budget is that you're dealing with?
Yes, ma'am. When we're fully staffed, about right under 130. And that's because we've adjusted to serve more of those infants and toddlers. And then our full budget is just shy of $11 million.
Could you tell me what kind of programs you have? Because, like, I go by the Bethlehem Center quite often, and the building you have on Bottom Avenue is empty, and the auditorium is empty, and the only building you have is the childhood development building. You know, are you still involved with the community besides childhood development? because I remember my cousin was one of the first graduates of the child development class, and they started getting federal funds, and everything else disappeared.
So yes, we got directly we run 8 locations. So we have that child development center. We're in Archdale community starting this year. We're in Ivory Baker Center, which is off of Old Statesville and Oakland Drive and Vegas Ford, sandwiched in between. We're also in the Plaza. We've got a center there. We have a center inside of Mulberry Baptist Church. We actually have 2 locations there. We've got our after-school enrichment program and our early childhood education program there, as well as a family life center. And I'm forgetting somebody. We another facility in addition to the one that we just bought in University that we're getting ready to open up. We also own a facility that's very similar to the old Bethlehem Center. The auditorium is not quite as large. It's really a meeting center, or kind of like this room. It's the Stephanie Jennings Education Center right off Sharon Amity, sandwiched between Central and Albemarle Road. And so that's a little bit about kind of where we're situated. We're more of a citywide agency. We're also looking for the future to also be in Pineville and Huntersville and Matthews as well. So we've got some real early stage opportunities there. From a non-child care services, the biggest thing that we do is we have 9 family engagement specialists. And so those family engagement specialists do 7 things. One is they work with the family to understand what's going on with the kid, not only in terms of classroom, but at home. 2 is they work to make sure that we're leveraging that family's role as being an educator to their child, and however what they see is what the child needs to learn. 3, families want to learn stuff for themselves. It's not just about the child, but also I might have a goal to go back to school to learn how to become an airline pilot. So those family engagement staff live alongside of them. 4, they're interested in the family's health and well-being, wellness, mental wellness, and so they work with those families to navigate life, both in terms of making sure they've got health insurance, health care, and they've got a way to be able to keep themselves mentally well and are connected with those services. 5, they work with families in terms of their connection to the community. So every family that we have has an opportunity to be a leader in our program, but we also look for the community opportunities for them to advocate within the community. So those folks do that. 6 is they're making sure they have connection to other adults and peers, and they're not just at home focusing on their own lives, but they understand that there's a broader opportunity out there, so they help those families navigate those communities. And then 7, this is the back to the future part where the old Bethlehem Center legacy comes in, is advocacy. And so that's something that we'll be focusing on moving forward, is how do we help families advocate for what's best for their student from their perspective and not just what we think. And so that's something that we're going back. So we have 9 team members that do that work in addition to what goes in the classroom, which is all really a part of what Bethlehem Center has always been about.
Okay, you mentioned the Ivory Baker Center, and you have 2 Ivorys right here. I don't know if you know that. Carlina Ivory, she's the name of it's been named partly after her. And then we have Miss Darnell Ivory over here. So we do have 2 Ivorys here. And Carlina has a question.
Thank you. Ivory Baker is located on Stroud Court.
Yes.
But my question is, and thank you, my mom worked for Head Start for over 20 years. And I was around when Doug and Miss Maxwell and all them were there. I do understand what you guys are doing now, because basically what a lot of agencies are doing, they're partnering with other individuals like AmeriHealth, like C.W. Williams and them, who have the funding already. And you make sure those community engagement people make sure their families can get involved in those programs, which makes sense. It saves you a lot of funding. Plus, that school is no longer, it's a different school now. So it no longer caters to elementary students in that community over there, off of, is it Baltimore, in that area? It's been changed to a different school, and that's an older community. That's a much older community. Plus the building is a little dilapidated or whatever. So, but my question, I thought I heard you say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you have a program that you pay about $20 an hour for individuals to continue their education and to have a job, but you were talking about Hispanics?
So it's not specific to Spanish-speaking families. This is anybody who has an interest, has some experience in working in early childhood education, and that's something that we're building and we're getting ready to launch it. So literally, we will be employing the individual while they're getting the training. So it's not just going back to school, it's getting a job and being able to have your school paid for. Now, the one caveat there is there'll be a work requirement. So if you're a part of that program, we'll be looking for the individual to continue to work with our students for another 2 years, at least after that. We'd love for you to make a career out of it, because there are also, once you get that certification, there'll also be opportunities for you to go on and get your associate's and your bachelor's degree, all at no cost while you're gainfully employed, and be able to get increases in your salary as your education increases.
But it's not limited to just respect.
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay, go ahead.
This may be answered already. That workforce you talked about, graduating high school, students graduating high school and college and pursuing a career in early education. Is that what you call an internship, or that's a job, a career job?
That is a job.
Okay. So is there an opportunity for internships leading up to that, and is that done through the high schools, through CMS and colleges and so forth, or how's that?
Great question. Not really yet. We do have internship opportunities. We haven't yet done the work to connect them to this opportunity. So this workforce development opportunity is mainly for adults, folks that are 18, 19 and up. We do have internship programs. Most of them are for college students. We have a partnership with the 410 Foundation where they place an intern with us. And then we have some relationship with CPCC and UNCC where folks come in and do their student teaching and their continuing education in partnership with Head Start. But we don't have that tie yet between high school interns and workforce development. So that right now the workforce development is for adults.
CPCC, what was the other institution?
UNCC is they do their student teaching with Head Start. We're one of their partners for their education students to come in and teach in our classrooms.
Okay, Jackie will have the last question, and then we're gonna take it to announcements.
How soon will that program be available?
Technically, it's available now. We have
$20 an hour for folk to go to school and
to work. So right now we have positions in preschool and infant toddler that are open, and we have an opportunity for those that are in that pool to be what we call contingent hires. The part that the school going back to school right now, we're paying for that. This new partnership, we're looking to leverage some workforce development dollars that some of our partners have so that we can grow that and serve more. And so that right now it's people that are coming in that are interested in working for us, and we can offer those job training, continuing education funds. This will make it where if you're working with another community provider and you're interested in getting, being in the early childhood education field, they'll be able to refer to us, and then we'll be able to finance that continuing ed. So right, it's open now, but it'll be broadened in 25.
Okay, thank you all so much. Let's give them a round of applause. We appreciate your being here, and we usually have Winston who can close us out in a big bang, but what I like to do is I ask for announcements, and one of the announcements that I like to make this morning is that our dear friend and a regular and a staple here at Tuesday Forum had a birthday on the 22nd. Ken comes. Let's sing happy birthday to Ken. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ken. Happy birthday to you. He's 25 3 times over. Do we have any other announcements? No announcements?
West Charlotte's Homecoming Parade is next
Wait a minute.
Friday, October the 4th. Okay. West Charlotte High School I'm a class of 1969 alumni. Their homecoming parade is October the 4th, starting at the West Charlotte Recreation Center and ending at the West Charlotte Recreation Center. I have no idea what the route is, but the class of 69 will be on a float, and right now they have about 25 groups that are participating and hope to get more. So please come out. They need people on the sidelines saying and waving at the people in the parade. October the 4th, it starts at 4 o'clock. Parade's at 4 o'clock. And then this is in the prerequisite to homecoming that night. They have that's a homecoming, a football game coming up that evening. So come and support.
I just like to make an appeal to this group and ask everyone if you will be responsible for making sure that at least 10 people are registered and that 10 people go to the polls and vote. We've got to keep the momentum going that we have. So we need to make sure that we can be holding those that we know accountable.
You made that a great announcement. I just want to say that, and I do have a sign-up sheet for volunteers based around the election and some additional information to hand out on what's happening with the election in Mecklenburg County. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. We'll be here next Tuesday. And Jackie, when we're going to start the candidates coming in?
Next week.
Next week the candidates will be here, so we expect you all to come back and grill them.
I don't have them all in line yet, but we return which county commission and North Carolina General Assembly, both over the next 5 weeks.
As many of you know, sometimes I can be brutally honest and inquisitive, but I must say, guys, you all were top shelf for me. And I don't think I can recall in any recent time where someone has come in and has done such a thorough job of explaining who, what, when, why, and where they are as you have. And I give you my kudos.
It says a lot, come from me.
I'm sure that'll get you a lot more funding.
Thank you all again. Any more announcements? Thank you all. Have a good week.
I have one, the Panthers won.